Hello and welcome back to Web Cafe AI, where we do daily ChatGPT and AI videos for your personal and business life. In today's video, we may be starting a new series here found on our channel, where essentially we're going to be going over services that you can start providing in your AI automation agency. And to start off, we're going to be looking at the service of essentially repurposing content. More specifically, the type of content we're going to repurpose is we're going to take a generated article and then we're going to repurpose that into a campaign that is going to be sent to a segmented audience found within our subscriber list. Now, over the past couple months, our channel has been growing a lot. Therefore, we've been pushing out different polls. So if you're subscribed to the channel, make sure to engage with these polls. This lets us know the type of content that best resounds with our current audience. As you see here, we went ahead and put out this poll here, and it seems like a lot of demand from our current subscribers is for AI automation agency tutorials. Let us really know this by trying to hit 250 likes on this video. If we hit 250 likes, then we will start really focusing on these type of tutorials. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our first tutorial here found on this new playlist, where we are going to delve into repurposing content. Now, the idea essentially is this. You will approach a business, or the business that you're currently operating will have article generation that is occurring either through freelancers or AI automation. And once a blog or article is posted, we will take the content found within that article, we will repurpose it and then send it as an email to specific audiences. And we can go as far as segmenting audiences if required. Using BotBrew, we went ahead and generated a pseudo article that we're going to go ahead and push towards our current marketplace. We went ahead and took the copy found from BotBrew and made it into this article that we're going to use as the data for today's tutorial to make this personalized email. If you're not already subscribed to our email list found on this marketplace, make sure to do so. We release pre-built AI automations constantly. Therefore, you can start offering more services for your AI automation agency. Just before we jump into this comprehensive tutorial, one of our pre-built AI automations that would really fit well in this context would be our AI article generator. This would allow you to essentially pitch to a business that not only can we repurpose your article content, but we can also take over the content creation of the articles themselves, really allowing you to seamlessly integrate AI automation throughout the business's backend when it comes to content creation. So let's go ahead and start building out this AI automation today. We went ahead and created a whole new folder for this new playlist that is going to come up here. We're going to go ahead and create a news app here, and let's go ahead and call it article to email. And the tools we're using today is going to be obviously Zapier, MailChimp, and ChatGPT. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. We're going to go ahead and set up a trigger to Shopify. And then with the Shopify trigger here, we're going to use an event of new blog entry. We're going to continue here, and then we're going to find the specific blog that we want to associate this content creation with. We're going to continue here, and then we're going to go ahead and test the trigger. Obviously, this would work hand in hand with that AI article generator we showed you earlier. AI article generates at 8 a.m. Then this flow gets generated because of that new piece of content, grabs that piece of content, and as you see here, we have a new data point, gives the title and then the body HTML of the underlying article we're dealing with. We're gonna go ahead and say continue with selected record. And now we can start preparing the AI generated email using different context. All right, let's go ahead and begin. We're gonna do an event of conversation, and we have a bunch of different variables that could have our inputs. But for today's purpose, all we have to care about is the email. So we're gonna do article EM for email. And this is going to make sure that we have consistent outputs when it comes to our generation. We're going to go ahead and up the model to GPT-4. In theory, this could work with 3.5. It would just require a lot more prompt structuring. From there, though, we can go ahead and start constructing the first message for this flow. Let's go ahead and begin here. So let's assume that the business we're running here is an AI automation agency. So maybe the flow we're currently building out is for our own backend. So using that as context, if you're doing this for maybe a pet company, a dog walking company, a construction company, this is where you're going to add the context block of whatever company we're dealing with here. So today we're going to be dealing with a automation agency, which is going to be us here at Web Cafe AI. We're going to say, based on this article, we are going to repurpose it as a email. We are an AI automation agency called Web Cafe AI. And it is important to identify the name of the company you're dealing with here because of the fact that what GBT will do is if they don't have context on the name, they'll just use the term AI Automation Agency. So we're going to want to head and proceed with that. And then we're going to say, here is the article. We do semicolon, parenthesis, parenthesis. Let's keep the data within the specific prompt here. And then we're going to go ahead and input the body HTML. And that should be sufficient. Yeah, body HTML. And then we're going to go ahead and add a parameter block here. And we're going to go ahead and say output in HTML. Once we set up the parameter to essentially get the output of HTML, there might be a little bit more prompt structure and we have to do post generation. But for now, we're going to go ahead and say generate the body of the email, no text before or after. And then we got to kind of give a little bit more context of what's going on here. We're going to say generate the body of the email, no text before or after. Have the body be a summary of the article that encompasses a CTA for reaching out to our agency. So a couple things here. First thing here is let's identify that we want to use a max of 3 to 6 sentences. The second thing here is the reason I can go as far as saying encompasses a CTA that reaches out to our agency, and then we've already contextually told you what the agency is because of the fact that the actual article itself has to do with AI automation and the benefits of AI automation. So in theory, you set up the AI article generated for the business, that's construction. You would probably put something along the lines of encompasses a CTA for reaching out to the agency that has to do with construction, right? So whatever articles are being pushed on the business's front end, obviously are going to have to do with the overall niche that the business is dealing with. From here though, let's go ahead and hit continue here. Let's just test this action. I assume I'm going to have to prompt structure a little bit more here, but let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so we went ahead and got a paragraph email here structured in HTML, but obviously it has the different variables of your name and the recipient's name. This isn't going to work on scale. So what we got to do is we got to quickly restructure this a little bit here. So let's do a couple things here. First thing we're going to do here is when you see identifiable variables in the output, all you can do simply is put in the variable itself. So your name. And then let's say you want to put in the name of the business owner. Maybe you want to put, instead of your name as the, footer there, we could put like the business's name. But for now, we're just going to put Corbin Brown. I'm going to go ahead and give another enter here. So a little bit more space. And then on top of that, you see how it said dear recipient's name. We're going to go ahead and give a little bit more context here. So we're going to say generate the body of the email, no text before and after. This email is going to be broadcasted to multiple subscribers. Don't identify names. This might be overkill. I might be able to actually make this a little bit simpler. I just want to kind of see what the output would look like when I make it very specific with my dictation on what I'm looking for here, but it may be overkill here. And as always, let's go ahead and switch up our memory key. Let's add it a 1. Let's refresh the brain here so it doesn't use the previous output as context. We're going to go ahead and get an output here and see what it comes up with. Okay, so I like this a lot better already. A couple things that I like better about this is that it's not using a big block to identify what's the content of that article. So we have more of, blocks like this. And then on top of that, we have the name here. We have the company name and it says dear subscribers. So that's not bad. We could probably tell it in a parameter. We don't want to call them subscribers. We want to call them XYZ. One of the things that would be really cool in this email is let's go ahead and restructure the CTA. Let's go ahead and say that the CTA for reading the article. And essentially why we're going to be able to do this, and this is going to be really, really cool here, is we're going to be able to actually give the link to that article in the email itself. So let's go ahead and proceed with switching up the CTA to, rather than booking a call with us or whatever context may be, to essentially, checking out the article. Let's go ahead and read the article. Let's get a little bit more of warming up potential leads rather than trying to convert a potential lead. And then let's go ahead and up the memory key again and continue this action. And let's go ahead and test this action. All right, perfect. So as you see here, we're going to keep subscriber because that is fine for our current context here. And then it does provide, quote unquote, link to article. So let's go ahead and see if we actually can provide the link to the article within a variable here. So we're going to say link to article, semicolon, parentheses, and then we're going to go ahead and find the link. In order to do so, we're going to show you something very powerful here at WebCafe AI. If you went ahead and try to do it the traditional way, you'll notice that there is no specific variable for the underlying link. All we have access to is the handle. But there's a way to get around this. If you jump over to whatever URL your business is, all you need to do essentially is copy that URL. Once you've copied the URL, essentially you want to use the URL that's going to be associated with the blog or article post. So as you see here, for this specific context, we have at webcafesoftware.com/blogs/news and then the handle. But in order to ensure that every single one of these emails are going to be very specific and custom to what article we're producing or repurposing the content for, we're going to go ahead and delete that. And we're going to put in that handle right there. And there we go. Now we have officially provided a live link that's going to be associated with every single new article we push towards. From here, now that we have set that up, we can go ahead and continue here. Let's go ahead and make sure we refresh our memory key here. We're going to continue here, scroll down, and let's go ahead and retest this action. And there you go. As you see, we have our new email body with the link associated with the article that's being described in that email body, and then along with our naming identified. But I don't necessarily like the output of this. So let's go ahead and go back to our memory key here, and we're going to go ahead and add a couple numbers. Let's go ahead and regenerate output. I'm not even going to change any of the prompt here. And as you'll see here, we'll get a different output. But the reason I'm doing this is because of the fact that I can keep running the operation here until I find an output that I find I'm satisfied with. Once I'm satisfied with that output, it will be associated with that memory key and it will come out that consistent every single time. And there you go. I like this output a lot better here. We got the dear subscriber, we got the link associated with the article, then we have the formatting of our footer there right here a lot better. We have officially just created an HTML email with a purpose of repurposing article content. So let's go ahead and jump into our next ChatGPT block here, which is going to be the purpose of the underlying subject line. From here, we're going to go ahead and hit conversation, hit continue, continue. And then we are going to go ahead and up our model to GPT-4. As I said before, you can use 3.5. It's just, you're going to have a lot easier time using 4. So make sure you get that activated. From here, we're going to do email, subject. I'm going to add article. We're going to come up here and let's go ahead and add our user message here. We're going to say context. If I can spell today, we are repurposing articles to be sent as emails. We will provide the subject, or we will provide the body of the email. And we're going to go ahead and say body of email, semicolon, parentheses, and then we're just going to jump up here to that HTML body we just created here. We're going to say, based off this body, generate a subject line. Now here's a couple things we can do that's really cool. We're going to add a parameter block here. We're going to do a parameter block in the sense of make sure to include these keywords. We're going to do semicolon, and we're going to do some parentheses here. So first parenthesis, we can add WebCafe AI. Second parenthesis we can add is ChatGPT. Essentially what we're doing here is, in the context that you're working with a business, there may be specific keywords that the business wants, but you don't necessarily want to add that as fixed text for the underlying campaign you're about to send out, because it may look wonky when you do this at scale. But by basically telling ChatGPT, hey, we want specific keywords here in the subject line every single time, but also make the subject line specific to the article being described. From here, though, we can go ahead and continue this. We may need to restructure this a little bit more, but let's go ahead and test that action. All right, so as you see here, we got a nice little subject line here. That is sufficient enough. One thing that may be a bother if you're familiar with AI automation is the ability to format outputs from ChatGPT, because sometimes, you know, you can prompt all you want, but sometimes with ChatGPT, it is reliable for certain context. So for the context of special characters, sometimes it adds these quotation marks. But if you've been here and you've been following the channel for a while, all we got to do is add a formatter block here. We're going to do text. If you felt like you learned something so far, make sure to like the video. It's going to tell us that essentially you want this type of content to be pushed more by us, as right now we're kind of focusing more on just general applications of AI, but it seems like the audience that we're catering towards more is people that actually want to build out AI automation agencies. But without further ado, let's go ahead and add our function here, which is going to be replace. And we're going to go ahead and do the inputs of that initial subject line. And we're going to do find the quotation marks that were just identified there. We're going to continue here, and we're going to replace with empty space, therefore allowing us to get a subject line that is within the parameters if we want. You could add a parameter here, use emojis, quotation mark, only these specific type of emojis, and so on. For now though, we have officially created our subject line and our body for the personalized email. Let's go ahead and start jumping into MailChimp and their API. In order to do so, we're just going to type in MailChimp here, and we're going to go ahead and choose an event of create campaign. Hit continue, and we have a ton of stuff we can do here. In theory, I could set up a variable here instead of a fix. What we can do though is let's go ahead and just set up the campaign name as the article name. That allows us to understand that. From here, we can go ahead and choose an audience. For the purposes of this video, we literally created a MailChimp account. So we're doing this for y'all. From here though, we can go ahead and add a subject line, which is going to be the formatted version of that output. And then we can go ahead and add maybe an AI generated preview text. For now, we can go ahead and maybe do the preview text as the article title. And the from name, let's go ahead and do WebCafe AI. This would be the, if you're working with a dog company, whatever the dog company's name, the from email address, whatever is the main email address of that company. So for us, it would be webrista@webcafecommerce.com. Then let's go ahead and add our email. As you will notice here, it actually requests specifically to use HTML. So we're going to go ahead and go to our second block here, and we're going to input that HTML generated output. One thing I want to note here, as you get more complex AI automation flows, you may get confused when you have a ton of different blocks. Go ahead and rename them. It only takes a couple of seconds. So if I do body here and rename this to subject here, right off the bat, when I'm trying to grab specific variables and specific data, I'll know exactly what I'm dealing with here. But we went ahead and created the underlying fixed text here, or the variable text for the body. From here, if you wanted to, you could add, fixed text here. So if I want to have a great day at the end of this whole email, that will essentially make it so that every single time an email of this nature goes out, it will always show up. From here, we can go ahead and continue and test that action. Now, you might be saying to yourself, great, we went ahead and created a campaign. It's in MailChimp's backend, but I have 10 different clients. I don't want to go to every single one of these clients and send out every single one of these campaigns manually. But what's great is you don't have to. Using MailChimp's API, we're actually able to do it automatically. And here's what's so fundamental and key about following this tutorial to a T. That rhymed on accident. The idea here essentially is make sure you name the campaign something you can call back upon. So in this context, since we named it the article title, we're not going to be choosing the option that it provides here as this first option. Why are we not going to choose that? Because if we chose that and we published it and it went ahead and went for 7 days, it's going to be sending the exact same email due to the fact that we've associated this entire flow with this campaign's ID. So the next question you might be asking yourself is, how do we go around that? We're gonna go ahead and do custom here, and we're gonna go ahead and do a title here. But it looks like actually in this context, we're gonna have to need to find the campaign, which won't be an issue here. So we're gonna add another block here. And the reason we're adding that block here and we can't just do straight fixed text is due to the fact that it actually needs to grab a ID that's associated with that for the API. For the name though, we don't have to worry because we named the campaign the title name of the article. From here, we're gonna hit continue. We're going to test that action, and then it should bring up that specific campaign we just created and the ID associated with that campaign. As you see here, it has. So what we can do now, which is so amazing, and this allows true AI automation, is we can go ahead and go to our find campaign step here, and let's go ahead and insert it. In this context, I'm assuming that it's requesting the campaign ID. If it isn't, go ahead and just switch that to the campaign title. From here, we can go ahead and continue, and then in theory, we could go ahead and test this action. Ahead and successfully sent out that campaign. As always, the Zapier AI automation we just created can be found in the description down below. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this type of content. Also, let me know in the comments what other type of AI automations that you're interested in, whether that is broad categories or specific niches. Do you have a client that's requesting a specific AI automation that you want to tackle but are not sure how to? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and check out the playlist at the end of this video. That it shows a entire playlist of 5,000 apps we're tackling and showing how AI can be integrated with every single one. Make sure to hit that goal of 250 likes. If we do, we'll create a new playlist called AI Automation Services, where you're going to be able to access entire services that you can start selling upfront for your own AI automation agency. But without further ado, I'll see you in the next video.